Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to SeahawkTalk here on the Salve Athletics Network, coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Through Twitter, we are live every single day from 3 to 4 p.m. Thank you for finding us here. We've got a great show for you lined up today. We will have Jody Meridian, Adam Zakar, Dan Parks, and Eric Sorella from our baseball team. We will talk to our producers as well, like always, to lead off the show. But first, we want to remind you to keep your distance. That is Ed Habershaw with his rendition of Keep Your Distance from the Shake, Rhode Island-based band, with a worldwide message that we will continue to reinforce: hand washing, mask wearing, and social distancing. We've heard all about those things. We're going to continue to remind all of our listening audience to do those simple and easy things. Want to bring in the producers now, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco here on Seahawk Talk. Fellas, how was your weekend?
I had a great weekend and a good Monday now that the weather has started to turn back around.
See, yeah, you guys are talking about it. We didn't get much bad weather here. It was raining a little bit, but you guys talking about thunderstorms and stuff. Either I slept through it or there wasn't any here because it was early morning.
I would describe this morning's rain as biblical. that's
that's
what it was like for me.
Yeah, I don't know that I'd go that far.
Yeah, now I understand the descriptions. That must have been what they're experiencing, because that was like the earthquake, like you said a few weeks ago, almost a similar amount of shake.
Yeah, a little too many. It's been too many things this year. We've had enough. Like we said, we've had enough of this year. No more surprises. No more curveballs.
Let's just no. Godzilla. End of December.
I just wanna gain 10 pounds between now and Christmas and New Year's, and then we can be on to
easy goal.
That's it. That's the worst thing I want to have happen the rest of the year, is that I have gained a significant amount of weight.
If you see it coming, it's not a surprise.
We'll take that.
Oh man. Anyways, fellas, what do you guys have here to lead off today's program?
I can run through my thing pretty quick. So they
take your time.
Yeah, the patch, the Newport patch, great. They gave us a great list to go to look at. 5 common home security mistakes and how you can avoid them. So I'll just quickly run through these here. The first one, obvious, is being careless and predictable. Things we were discussing before, leaving the key under the mat, yelling from the porch, hey, I'm going on a vacation for 2 weeks, like that sort of thing. Just don't be careless. Don't be predictable. Lock all your doors. Do all the simple things. That's the number one.
Well, that kind of makes me think of the Jeff Foxworthy thing. It was if you bought floodlights and motion sensors and all these things, but then don't lock your front door, you might live in New England. That one right there. Mistake number one, almost everyone in New England does. They get all these fancy things, and then you don't lock the door.
You paid for the ring, you paid for all this stuff, and then you leave the door open. Exactly. What mistake number one we want to try to avoid. Number 2, making it very obvious when you're not home. Something I know a lot of people do is a lot of mail gets stacked up, and that's a pretty obvious tip that you're out of town. You got mail overflowing, or all your cars are out. Maybe if you have an extra one, you leave it in the driveway instead. Just stuff like that. Just try to make it look like you're home even when you're not. If you're only out for a short period, maybe leave your TV on or something, so someone thinks someone's home. Or get a pet if you can afford that. That would be another.
Do
the guard dog.
Do the Home Alone cardboard cutout on the train tracks running around the house.
I remember what we used to do.
Actually, we don't have to go through the rest of this. Let's just go watch Home Alone, and that's your home security.
Go watch Home Alone and don't do anything that Kevin McAllister does.
Yeah, because he thought off 2 pretty impressive intruders. I don't know, Joe Pesci. He's broken into a bunch of houses in other movies, but in this one, he got stymied by a 10-year-old kid. So I'm a little confused. So if you got it, so if he can fool Joe Pesci, he can fool.
That would
any
be a
other
good
burglar.
top five Joe Pesci roles.
Yes. That would be a good listicle. I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
stealing poor Kyle.
Note that down. That's what's coming out of today's show. Is we gotta make a list of our top.
Write that down. Write that down.
Yes, but by the end, we're gonna do top 5 Joe Pesci movies.
All
But
right, mistake number 3.
yeah, number three is having valuable items on display. I don't have to worry about this one so much. I don't know if there's anything that intruders really want to take around here. I'm looking around now. Got the older Xbox and everything. There's nothing they could want. But if you have valuable items on display, maybe just move them so they're not quite so visible. Yeah, if you have like a flat screen or something, a pricier item, put it in the bedroom, or just try to position it so it's not like glaring out into the street for people.
This mistake is outside of my tax bracket, so
yeah, me as well. So that doesn't apply to us, but I know a lot of people in Newport, might have the pricier items that you want to put away. So that's tip number 3. Tip number 4, or mistake number 4, is only installing outdoor lighting that works on a timer. This one is a little surprising to me. I thought the timing and censored lights, or the time censored lights, were the best, but I guess just getting motion sensor is recommended by security experts, or just static lights.
I just feel like electric experts. It feels like a waste of electricity if it just goes on and off at random times.
Yeah,
I guess it's not random, but
this must be targeted for people who can afford to leave lights on, things of that nature.
People who can afford to leave lights on.
Mistake, and then the final mistake to round it out, just not taking proactive approach to home security. One of the experts said the biggest mistake is people simply don't think it can happen to them. So, always think it can happen to you, prepare for the worst, and follow the tips that we just described to keep your house safe, especially if you're traveling or anything like that.
See, meanwhile, I'm the opposite. I was raised to be skeptical and prepared for any of these things. So I go to bed thinking there's a guy who's going to somehow parkour his way up 4 stories and maybe climb into this open window. So I'm just going to close it and lock it. Why not?
Yeah. My life.
I'm more of a sporadic home security person. I'll take it really seriously a couple of nights. If I hear a story that freaks me out, or I watch a horror movie, then it's we're locking all these doors.
Oh, that was the worst. Back in peak quarantine, back in April, we watched 27 episodes of Criminal Minds in a row. And I was
you can't do that.
I can't go to bed tonight. I might just sit by the door.
Blunder.
I might just sit by the door.
Yeah, I think I might invest in a moat or something to go around my house. I don't know. Nothing's keeping me safe anymore. But those are your 5 common home security mistakes. So keep those in mind, everybody.
Cool. Joey, what do you got?
All right, let me share my screen. All right, so I got yet another. I keep saying it every time, and now I've become self-aware of it. That every time I pick a profile, but again, it's a really good profile on Newport Daily News. It's about the Community Service Awards in Newport County have awarded John Diaz the award for eternal service. Basically, again, I would say just read the article because I'm never going to do as good a job as I do just summing it up. But basically, he's been doing he is the current president of the Vasco da Gama Portuguese American Charitable Service for the past 23 years. His family has been either involved or the presidents of that group for more than 40 years. And it's just kind of, I don't know if it's a generic, but a general nonprofit where, because it says here, they help anyone in need of assistance in the community. So it's anybody who needs help, no matter what kind of help it is, they help raise money for people and that kind of thing. And then he decided that wasn't enough. One charitable organization, nah. He and his friends made another one called the Hillside Charitable Foundation, which is very similar. It's just, I think it's a group that started with his friends. And it's basically a similar thing. They would raise money. They say here it started for one of their friends' kid got in an accident and he needed a surgery, and so they raised money to pay for him to be flown to New England Hospital and get that surgery. And so, look at this. To date, Hillside Charitable Foundation members have raised $4,900,000 and donated $390,000 of that. That's a ton of money. That's just a lot of money. And so he's been doing good for basically his whole life. And so, the Newport County community is recognizing that, which I think is cool. And they mentioned at the beginning that normally they hold like a banquet for this person, and they said they didn't say if they're going to do something else, but they said we thought honoring him in the pages of the Daily News during Thanksgiving week was a great way to recognize him and just like highlight what a good person he is. And also worth noting is he was related to sports. He where is it? He was, oh geez, it's in here somewhere. But he was the basketball coach at URI, and here it is. At Rogers, he coached basketball. At URI, he coached basketball. He was athletic director at Seahawk High. So clearly he likes sports.
I'll do you one better, Joey.
Education teacher.
I'll do you one better. John Dias, he also helped and coached softball where? Salve Regina. And
really?
He joined Bob Angel from WADK on basketball broadcasts for Salve as a color commentator. So you stumbled into a perfect Seahawk Talk tie-in and didn't even know.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah, I got to the end and it was like, he does all this sports stuff. And I'm like, oh, even better.
Yep.
We should have him on the show.
Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Well, you know what? Our people will talk to his people, and
we'll talk to
yeah.
So we'll talk
between a Pizzelli, a Morelli, and a Defusco, I think we could get it done.
Yeah, I think, just tell them our names. I think we'll be intimidated to come on. I think it's a mob.
Anyways, fellas, great stuff as always. I'm gonna let you guys get to work behind the scenes, helping to produce the show, and we'll talk to you again at the end of the program.
All right, guys, we'll see you.
All right, that's Joey Morelli and Mike Defusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. We're going out to our first guest of the week, like always, our athletic director, Jody Moradian, joining us on the program. Jody, how are you? How was your weekend?
Good. How was yours?
It was good. It was good. You know, eventful.
Well, it's not supposed to be eventful. I heard you guys are up for a daytime Emmy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The beginning part of your show is just ready for prime time.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'll take it. We'll put if we win it, I'll put it somewhere up here on the shelf with my random books and tennis ball as well.
Yeah. Now you got me worried about break-ins. That's a nice topic.
Anyway, like we said, every week there is something new and something different and something else to learn and prepare for. So I will just let you give me all the institutional updates. Where do we stand right now on this ever-shifting landscape?
So right now we're fully remote Monday, but students can stay on campus. So we still might have some students around, but all formal activities will be done. All of our sports are ending tomorrow. The hockeys and basketballs, I think they're doing their last sort of send-off, but we had gone back to phase 1. So we had less, as a group. So instead of moving forward, we've been moving backwards, but everybody's noticed that. And Rhode Island definitely is a state that everybody still needs to be careful. I was glad you said that. Small groups, hand washing, we're all back to that. Another conference did announce that they're not doing hockey. So, it's just every day there's something new. So the NEHC, who has some of our big rivals, and each school can still participate. But yeah, so those are the things that have been going on. Everybody's wrapping up classes. I will say we had some really positive things last week. Our Student Athlete Advisory Committee collected the most food ever, and they took over 40 bags of food to Rogers, so that families that need a little help this year, they actually formally put together the meal for Thanksgiving. So I was very proud of them for that. And they did it socially distanced. Oh, look at you. And outside and masked up.
Awesome.
I've
been amazed. I helped out. I said eventful week. It was busy Saturday. I helped out my former Boy Scout troop doing the scouting for food. So last Saturday they hung out little tags. This past Saturday we go around and collect all the food. I was actually amazed at how much and how many people did give. We got just in Narragansett 7,000 pounds of food.
That's unbelievable.
Which it's good because there's a lot of people who need it. And I think it also speaks, we get caught up in a lot of the negative, but the positive is that there's still a tremendous amount of generous, caring people in the
Yeah.
world who, even amidst everybody struggling, is saying, you know what, I'm going to
Yeah.
give 20 pounds of food to somebody I don't know, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, it is interesting, and that isn't what gets put out there in the media or whatever, except for your show. But it is like people are giving more, people need more, but I hope we keep that part of this going, that we're actually caring for each other and making sure that everybody's doing well. And another interesting thing on that note, I was talking to some of our men's ice hockey players, and there's a house with freshmen, 3 Canadians, and Sean, Gary, and Griffin. But they've been inviting just random people over to share dinner with them. Like, what a wonderful thing that is. They meet somebody in class, they only know them a little bit, and then they've been making it every Sunday. They'll invite a couple people they don't really know over from Salve. I just think all that type of spirit, we've got to keep it going.
Well, I think a lot of our coaches have talked about taking the opportunity. If we're not going to play, we can grow as individual athletes, but also grow as people. And I think a lot of our coaches and players have embraced the opportunity to grow as people. For the sports stuff, are there any other, even though everything changes all the time,
Yeah.
what's like the next like major deadline or date to focus on where, things will get more clarity? So I don't think any broad decisions are going to be made immediately or in a vacuum. What's kind of like the next like marker?
So I think the next marker will be the middle of January. And we pushed our start date a week. So we start January 19th. And at least half the CCC, our conference, moved their start date to February 1st. So I think prior to everybody starting, the presidents will meet again and see where we are nationally. It's interesting. I mean, a lot of Division I schools are competing now. So hopefully if they do well and we get through the holidays, I think that's a thing that's been hanging over everybody a bit, that there's so many warnings and concerns about people reverting back to behaviors that aren't the safest during COVID, that we need to get through Thanksgiving, Christmas, get everybody home again, and then hopefully we can bring them back and have a fresh start.
Yeah. For people on the outside looking in, they might look and see, oh, this conference canceled games, this other school's not playing, and that it's some sort of big snowball. But for Salve and the CCC, it really, those things, while maybe you might look and say, well, they'll be mounting public pressure, it really kind of doesn't impact what we've been planning for anyways. We're still just operating independently of those.
Right. And that's what everybody's doing. And it's different by state, obviously. So we are planning on conference schedule only for basketball and hockey. And it's very doable. And it would still be a great experience. The student athletes just want to compete. So it doesn't really reflect on our decision making, but it will reflect on whether the NCAA will host championships. Yeah. If they don't, that's still fine, because we could still do a conference if we can do it safely. And most of all of our schools are within 2.5 hours, 3 hours at the most for one trip. So some conferences are really spread out too. So hopefully we'll just stay our course and be safe and at least get the conference in.
Yeah. I say the distance between schools depends on how fast you drive, right, Jody?
Right. For you, there's nobody further than 2 hours, which is just great. We'll have you drive the teams so we get there faster. Well, we're gonna
outrace my chauffeur's license.
We're gonna outrace COVID with you at the wheel. I think we can do it.
Jody, love having you on every week, giving us the updates. It's like simple question, just what's happening. But you do a great job with it. Hope you have a happy and safe Thanksgiving, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you.
All right, that's Jody Meridian, the athletic director here at Salve Regina. We're going to go next. Let's see. I think we're supposed to have Adam Zakar, but he has not yet popped in the building. So we're going to go along to Dan Parks, assistant coach and alumnus with our men's lacrosse team. Dan, how you doing?
Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Good. Been a while since I see. Last time I saw you was the last time I was calling a game. It was a men's lacrosse game, Accolade on March 11th. Boom! Oh my gosh, time. I gotta ask you generally, kind of just personally, like, how have you been? Like, what's life been like?
Everything's been, okay, manageable through COVID, just like everyone else. Has been adjustments along the way, but I think I've had on a personal note, a little bit more distracted, a little bit of a distraction from COVID, which has helped me. I had a baby girl in June, so that's been exciting, keeping me busy and kind of keeping the outside world a bit of a less of a focus and more focused on just the inside the four walls of my house here.
Yep, as I say, congratulations on the baby. I'm sure that's gonna come with its own set of challenges and things. To where are you starting to sleep a little bit more now? Like you said, June, couple of months in, or not yet?
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's about the same. Keeping up with a baby crying or keeping up about the X's and O's of a game, you get about the same amount of sleep.
Yeah,
used up for different reasons now.
Now, how many other, friends or maybe relatives who are around your age do you have that have kids, and now you suddenly feel like everybody jokes about those memes, like I never thought I'd be excited about shopping for home goods. You ever thought you'd be texting, joking like baby memes to your friends? You find yourself catching yourself doing any of that?
Yeah, a little bit. My wife and I are just about the first of all of our friends, but not by much. A bunch of our friends are kind of coming in the next couple of months, or they're expecting in the next few months, or a few of them have had babies the last, within the last month or two or so. And ironically, it's great. We talk about the alumni of the lacrosse program, and all sports talk about the guys they meet or the friends they meet in the college sports world in the locker room, and a lot of those guys I still keep in touch with, and just about the whole group of friends, the alumni that graduated, I guess, the year before me or in my year, we're all kind of in that same boat, starting to have start families and things like that. So it's exciting. I wouldn't think 10 years ago in the locker room, things we were joking around, messing around, I didn't think we'd be talking about babies, formula, diapers, and all that fun stuff. But here we are.
How was it for you then? Obviously going through the spring, you guys lose the season. Now you have a kid, but then in the world's everything's crazy. How was it for you to then get back with the team and have this fall, even though there's so much unknown, but just to get back with the team and work with the guys?
That was awesome. That was a welcome change. For a while there, we went through the spring. We were doing really well. 5-1 start. I know we've talked about that a bunch on the show, or the coaches or the players that come on there. So they're hungry to kind of just pick up where they left off. And to be honest, we got a little bit of a later start in the fall than what we normally do. So there's a little bit of me during that time, in September, when normally we're getting ready to get going, and we know we're delayed about another 2 or 3 weeks. There was a part of me that thought, maybe the fall wouldn't happen at all. So we were definitely fortunate to get the time that we did have. We did get cut 1 week short, but as Coach Cooney said often, he said every day, he considers every day as a bonus. Any time that we get is a bonus. So to be just 1 week short, I think it's still technically added time, because typically in the fall we practice about 4 or 5 weeks. We were scheduled to get 6 weeks in this fall, so we got a good 5 weeks. So we may have even broke even or come ahead than what we typically do in the fall.
Yeah. From a player's perspective, was there anybody in particular who really embraced the challenge of this fall to work on themselves, their game? Anybody who you'd want to highlight in particular?
I think there's a bunch of players. All the players really, they stepped up to the challenge in the fall ball, and not have, again, with the unknowns, and just coming out and again treating every day like it's a bonus, and just step on the field and being fortunate for that time. But there's a few players in particular that, not necessarily with just fall ball or COVID, but they were asked maybe to try some new positions. We had a couple of middies try out some more defensive roles, some attackmen try out some midi roles, even D middies go take the long pole and go down low and try that out. And they've embraced it. Some guys could think of that change as, they may view it as a demotion for whatever reason, which it really isn't. It's more of we need to fill that void on the field, and we think you can handle it. And they've done that. Players like Max Van Winkle, Ryan Carlo, freshman midi, come in. They've been playing more of a defensive role. Nate has picked up a long pole. Even guys in years past, last spring they started it, and they've just embraced the challenge and hit the ground running here in the fall.
Yeah. If and when, hopefully, everybody's got the fingers crossed, games can be played, what do you think this team can be on the field?
Well, sky's really the limit for this group. The large senior class and the leadership that I know has been talked about a bunch on the show. with that leadership, this team can really move places. They've kind of been through a lot in this Salve program when they first came in, being kind of a middle of the road type team. They've definitely had their challenges. They've definitely risen to the occasion on times, fallen short of their goals at times. So they've kind of been through a lot. And with that experience, I think they could take this team far. The freshman class, the sophomore class, they're young, but they're focused. They buy in. I think the whole team does a great job of coming together. So really not too much new. We didn't lose too much. Yes, we lost a handful of players, but not much in terms of quantity that we lost. And what we brought in, not too many newcomers, certainly newcomers that could have an impact, but nothing really changed too much from the spring. So hopefully we can take that 5-1 start and kind of just roll with it.
Yeah. How do you feel like this lacrosse program has changed and developed over the years, and what does it mean to you to know you were a part of it both as a player and now as a coach?
Yeah, well, as I was alluding to before, the senior class has kind of been through a whole lot in the last 4 years. And I believe you had, not last week, but a couple weeks ago, Pat Leary and Marco Mangelli, and they started talking about, you asked them about their leadership roles on the team, and I believe it was Pat Leary mentioned the captains and the seniors his freshman year. They kind of brought them in. So along with that line, I mean, there's some success that this team has been going through the last 4 years or so, but even beyond that. But I don't think it's necessarily all accredited to these guys on the current roster. It goes back a bit of a way. I know when Coach Cooney first came over to Salve, the program was very young. We're still a young program, youngest in the conference. But when he came in, the program was, almost brand new. I think they even had a winless season in there the first season or two. So the program's come a long way. I think they were fielding teams of like 12 players, when 10's on a field at a time. That's a little tough to do,
Yep.
But they strung together a couple of good seasons a little bit before my time, made some playoff runs. But at that time, I feel like, I might be speaking out of turn because I wasn't actually a part of that team, but I feel like those were just a couple of good teams put together. And now that you've had a couple of successful seasons gone together, you're getting some seniors going through the ride from all 4 years, and they're graduating, and they're still kind of looking back and connecting. And those seniors can make those connections with that freshman and kind of build that bridge and fill that gap. I think that those couple of teams are now developing into a program. And this is something that alumni can be proud of and kind of look back and stay connected to. And with that, the program can only continue to grow in my eyes.
Yeah. As I say, from having been around your program now for 7 years myself, I've seen a lot of those groups of guys who are seniors continue to stay involved in work. Yourself, many other players have stuck around as well and helped out coaching or just being around the team. How important is that to continue to work and grow that base of alumni and getting them to come back, and whether it's just being there for support or actually, in some cases, guys being on the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think that's tremendous. We want to grow a strong alumni base for several reasons. And we're starting that. We'd like to pick it up maybe a little bit more, get that to grow more as we go on here. But a couple of reasons, first and foremost, just for the players for the program to develop, you need that connection, the alumni to come back. You want a sense of pride. You want to build something that you're proud of. You can look back on and say, I was part of that, being part of something that's bigger than yourself there. But then on a more selfish standpoint of as a coach or being involved in the program currently, on the inside, just how cool would it be to have a strong alumni following? I know just from the nature of the program being so young, when I was playing, we didn't have a strong alumni base. There just wasn't a lot of quality there, a lot of substance to build on, to no fault of any alumni. Not saying anyone was not proud or anything like that, but just the substance wasn't there. And it just would have been awesome to play in front of that alumni base or have someone that is kind of following and looking at you along the way. And then from a selfish standpoint of the alumni themselves and myself as a former player, just to kind of come back, and you always have that connection. You say, you probably can agree, or anyone can attest to, you always say you have those old friends from college or former jobs or whatever it is that you always want to cut the time out to make time and go visit and catch up. But just life is so busy, you never have the time. So if we can have some alumni base and there's that a solid foundation or something to come back to, you have alumni gatherings or whatever it is that's set in the calendar, it's an excuse to carve out that time in your life to get back.
Yeah. Did you know in your playing days at any point, did you think ahead like, oh, man, I'd love to be a coach and I'd love to be a coach here someday? Or, was that kind of unexpected?
No, coaching was always in my vision. I didn't necessarily think it would be Salve and Salve lacrosse. To be honest, before I even came into college, I went in to become a teacher. Part of that was to be a coach. It was a great avenue to be coaching. And I always thought I'd be going back to like high school football or something like that. But Coach Cooney, who does a great job with all his players, trying to set up. He knows it's more than just 4 years on a college lacrosse field. That's a big part. But he always has these conversations with his players. He's a great advocate for them going forward after their 4 years, after they get their degree and have some success on the field. He's talked to me about my goals to be a coach, and I guess he's always kept that in the back of his mind. And welcomed it with open arms to embrace me and joining the coaching staff. I'm very fortunate for that because stepped across the stage on graduation, just never looked back, never left Salve's campus.
Yeah. I want to ask you kind of a fun question, Dan. I've talked to Pat about this. There's always, every year, there's kind of like some new rule changes and tweaks and things. One thing that I don't know what your thoughts are if it'll ever come to the college game, but is the 2-point shot. And do you think it'll happen? And will you be jealous that you didn't have it in your playing day? Because I know you like those long distance shots.
I have no idea if it'll come into the college game. I have no idea. I don't even know what to expect. I've never really thought about it, to be honest. Am I jealous that it wasn't around in my playing day? I'm gonna be honest and probably say no. And here's my reason for it, because I know guys would then be tempted, maybe myself, maybe others, we'd be tempted to take those 2-point shots. And let's face it, they're worth 2 points for a reason, because they're a little more unlikely. And I think that would lead to a lot of turnovers. So as a coach, I think my heart will be in my throat a lot when I see a guy coming back. We've got a couple guys that like to rip it from far away and who have the potential to do so, like Leary or Joe Grimm. They've got a kind of a hard shot. And there's times where they do step up and take that shot, and I'm thinking as it's going, oh, don't do it. It's going to be a turnover. Don't do it. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it goes in, and you, as a coach, you can't yell at them at that point. You just kind of got to zip it and just say, okay, phew. But I think the coaching staff, our hearts will be in our throats a little bit if we have a 2-point shot. But if it comes to fruition, then we'll have to take it as it is, and we'll see what happens there. And I don't think I would have scored many 2-point shots. So I don't think my stats would have changed. My shooting percentage would probably go lower than what it already was. So.
Oh, man, don't do yourself a disservice there. Anyway, Dan, great to see you. Glad you're doing well. Glad your family's healthy and safe as well. And have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll catch up with you guys again soon.
Great. Thanks, Andrew. You too.
All right, take it easy now. That's Dan Parks, assistant coach with our men's lacrosse team. We're going to take a short break and be back with Eric Sorella, the head coach of our baseball team. Don't go anywhere.
Hey Seahawk fans, while the season is not what we hoped for, athletics is still going strong. Our coaches have adapted to new guidelines and are continuing to foster the growth of our student athletes on and off the field. With all the restrictions due to COVID-19, I can certainly understand what our student athletes are missing out on this year. Competition with teammates, home games with fans, away trips, and the camaraderie of taking a bus hours away, and team meals at Miley after practice. Our athletes are continuing to prepare for competition and are eager for the next full season. We all can't wait to have competition back on campus with our Seahawk fans like you cheering on our student athletes. Supporting our student athletes has a greater impact now more than ever. Please consider making a contribution to a sport of your choice below or Seahawk Athletics. Your support will help ensure that our Seahawk athletes come out of this pandemic stronger, faster, and better than ever.
Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli. We're going to go now to the head coach of our baseball team, Eric Sorella. Eric, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Doing well, Andrew. How you doing?
Good. I kind of thought of this, talking to Dan. He was talking about alumni groups and growing that alumni base, and it made me think like, oh, this is great because our next guest, alumni are a huge part of your program. You guys, over the years, continue to get guys to come back and show support for the program, whether it's on the field, off the field. Talk about, one, how important that is to have a strong alumni base, and two, what they mean to your program specifically.
It's super important. I mean, the I think you're only as good as your alumni, and that was one of the areas where, taking over for my father and being an alum benefits me so much because, of the continuous support and, just having the ability to attract those guys back to campus for, whether it's an alumni game or something regular season. Those guys can really attest to the growth of the program year after year, at least from a facility standpoint. And, just a tremendous amount of respect for those guys because I really try to instill in my team the ability to, understand where the program's come and where it's hopefully going. And those guys just, make it a lot more special for me, because of my roots and being here. But we do have a great group of guys who, are considered alumni, and they continue to support us through good times and bad. And we certainly, look to them for a lot of different things throughout the year. Most notably, some of our fundraisers. But to be honest, though, it's more fun just to sit back with them at like a golf tournament or an alumni game and talk about the old days and share stories. And those guys continue to be amazed at what we've been able to build in the past few years.
Yeah. Does it help too when you have guys? I think of like a Ryan Kelly who came in, tremendous player on the team. He's very supportive of the program off the field, and I see him at games, but then also coming back to help out, be a coach as well,
Sure.
and kind of bridge that gap between you guys as a coaching staff, the players, alumni. It kind of weaves it all together when you get people like that.
Yeah, it does. It's the older you get as a head coach, and the older your coaching staff gets, you're 1 year further removed from college, and
Not knowing what TikTok is.
right. I still have no idea what TikTok is, and how that affects us if we can't use it anymore. I don't know. Is that going to be detrimental to our fundraising, or God forbid I make a reference for a baseball player, from the '90s, and kids look at me like I have three heads.
Yeah.
But certainly guys like Ryan, Farrell, who was here, Adam Gingras, back when I started, John Donahue, again, back when I started, those guys really, being a little bit younger and closer removed from from their playing days, are able to really connect with the players and bridge the gap between that aging head coach who doesn't know what TikTok is and the players. And it's certainly an important role to fill on the team because I'm not going to get any younger, and Coach McKeon's not going to get any younger. And the older we get, the more we're just not aware of some of the things that might be going on. And certainly as a young assistant coach, even looking back to when I graduated and coached a year at Salve directly out of college, and being a young assistant coach at URI, there's there's some advantages you have there, because you don't have necessarily the stresses as maybe the head coach, or as much of duties and responsibilities, maybe, even without having an immediate family, wife, kids, and whatnot. So you can relate a little bit better to the players, and it allows you, sometimes it just allows you a certain level of trust that players will tell you things. And I'll tell you the biggest thing I notice is after we lose a game, I know that the numbers in my van diminish greatly, and kids are sitting on other people's laps in other vans. Sometimes I even leave with an empty van if kids aren't at the van in time. But I will say one thing: I'm trying. One thing I'm trying to do as much as possible is just remember how hard the game is and how much it beats you up. Because I think looking back, it's easy as you get older to think that it's an easy game, and it's not. It's difficult, and it's a game of failure. And so the more level-headed, I guess, that I can be, the more I'm showing them that, I understand you're going to struggle, you're going to fail at times, but, just because you did it in your first 2 at-bats doesn't mean that your last 2 or 3 at-bats should be thrown away, or vice versa on the pitching side.
And I was just thinking also, the further you're removed from the game, maybe you don't feel as much of the, oh, well, I would have done this in this situation. You realize you've been a coach now longer than you were a player. Is it kind of weird to think about in that sense, and that sense of like, well, you just want to get out there and do it yourself? It really starts to go away.
Yeah, yeah. Just it makes me feel old. But I'm sure to tell the guy hitting next in between like a pitching change that, I would, or whatever. I'd say, yeah, this kid, if he pitched against me, I'd have 3 hits off him. Just to kind of light a fire under their butt.
I want to ask you kind of a personal question here,
Sure.
and maybe I'll let you do some of the explaining. For those tied into the Division III Rhode Island soccer scene, last night there was a state champion crowned on the Division III side. Tollgate beat my Mariners. So the Mariner boys won. Mariner girls lost to Tollgate last night. Star of the game, won Cassie Sorella, your cousin, and for Salve baseball people, we know. Her sister Gianna passed away in 2017 from sepsis. So obviously, a tremendously emotional moment for your family then, and I'd say, and now for Cassie especially, and all you guys. She was a stud last night. I was very impressed by how she conducted herself during and after the game, and I just wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about all of that.
Sure. Well, I mean, certainly just getting to see her play a few times this year, unfortunately, more so, online and I watched a couple games on YouTube and had to buy the subscription last night. I don't know how many people actually do that, but it was really, really fun to watch her. And she's really a tremendous athlete, very raw, but fast and strong and physical. And, obviously the game carried a lot of weight because of everything that's transpired with her sister, and who passed away when she was a freshman. And it was pretty much around this time, in 2017. And, I think for the family, just looking back, and because Cassie wasn't even sure if she was going to play soccer the next year.
Yeah.
Kind of told, my aunt, her mother, that she didn't want to play. And that's kind of what she was leaning towards all summer. And then I think the day before tryouts, maybe had a change of heart or just showed up to the first tryout or something like that. And, the program hasn't had a whole lot of success in the last few years, since I guess 2015. And, so kind of all the pieces came together over the last couple of weeks, and they had a real successful campaign and finished, I want to say, second in the North or South or something. I'm not sure how Division III girls soccer is really aligned, but they had a successful season and, made a nice playoff run, and obviously capped it off with a championship last night. And she had, a couple of goals, I think, against Classical, and had 2 goals against the team they played in the quarterfinals. And then, after a tough kind of first half where she had a few impressive breakaways and couldn't get one past the keeper, she, managed the 1-1 by that ended up being the game-winning goal. And then, and you're sitting there thinking, in soccer, like, if Craig's up with 15 minutes to play, 2-0, it's like, this isn't the bag. But then you're looking at, high school aged females, and the other team, Narragansett, scored a nice goal, and actually had a chance to tie it up like almost immediately after that. And you felt like, geez, this thing could go either way. So it was nice to see her, put one in the back of the net to make it 3-1 and kind of, clinch it. But what can you say besides the fact that, she has this life where you're not supposed to face that sort of tragedy when you're 14 or 15 years old, and there'll always be a point in time that, like, after this happened, nothing is ever the same, and I can't even imagine what her and the family have had to deal with. I mean, even as somebody who talks to them and sees them regularly, it's not, it's not something that I can imagine ever having to deal with, whether it's the loss of a child or the loss of a sister or brother. It just shows how strong they are, and also highlights kind of the importance of athletics and high school athletics, college athletics, and lifting a person up, and that has to be an escape for people on their worst days, and their teammates are more important than just people that you play with, but they're people that can bring you to heights on days you didn't think you'd get out of bed. And I think that whole story is just special. And watching the game last night, it's hard not to get teary-eyed, and then you're getting text messages from family members and people that you don't even realize are watching and following. And so just really, really a perfect way to end a high school soccer career, as perfect as it can be, for her. So just my heart goes out to them. It's their strength and what they've overcome and have to deal with daily is a lot more impressive than losing a recruit or losing anything like that. So it just was really cool.
Yeah, as I said, the one word that kind of fits all is just inspirational. To watch, to have the guts to go out and, like you said, how she thought about not wanting to even play, and then on top of having to have the rest of your career with the heavy heart of what happened, they were able to get special. Let me see if I can pull this in. They had special G-Strong jerseys made up, which they got to wear at the end of the season, and I mean, amidst the pandemic too. Like, there's so many layers to this. I mean, you forget. It almost makes you forget. The circumstances made you forget. Oh yeah, this was also happening when, like you said, a lot of sports, were getting canceled or not played, and so they did get to play and get to have this moment, and yeah, I mean,
Right.
I don't think she
Right.
would have
So-
pictured it in a pandemic, but to get to have this senior season is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure there's a ton of stories like this, or it's just amazing. And when you take sports away from high school age kids, or any age, middle school all the way to any amateur athlete who's relying on this as some sort of an outlet to just feel normal and forget about, that's what I always tell the players. Like, the beauty of the baseball field is you get to forget about everything that happened all day and everything you're dealing with, and you can kind of refocus and focus on something that is team oriented, and figure out how you can help the team the best today. And if you feel like this is becoming a job, that's when you're dreading going out to the field, that's when you should stop playing, because it really shouldn't feel like that. I mean, it's not supposed to be easy, and I think that's the brilliance of really how it all transpired. And obviously this was a really good article written by Bill Koch, who's also a buddy of mine, who
I say I'm friends with Bill. He did
yeah,
a
and
really
he
great job.
he was texting me last night, right when he had finished the article. And so just how it all came together. Certainly not the storybook ending that anybody would ever wish upon, even their worst enemy, but after the fact, and after going through a tragedy, I think that's clearly the best case scenario for her to finish out. And man, watching her play, I don't know how that translates into the college level. And I haven't even had a conversation with her about it. I know she's a really good lacrosse player too, and they were in the lacrosse championship 2 springs ago, because last spring obviously they got canceled. But I see her running down the field, and she looks like a gazelle next to some of these other people. I mean, just a lot of size and strength. So again, I don't know how that translates or if that will if she'll play again, but certainly something poetic out of her scoring the last goal in RIIL for 2020 and winning a championship.
Yeah. Sticking with family here, Eric. Congratulations on you'll be adding one more to your roster. So congratulations to that. And how do you plan on spending Thanksgiving? Since it's going to be different, there won't be any 80-person Italian get together like I'm sure your family
Right.
might be used to. But what will you guys be doing this year?
Really not too much. I think better to be safe at this point, and there's a lot riding on obviously me staying healthy. It's more so Taylor staying healthy, and the me staying healthy is probably the most the one we got to keep our eyes on because she's safe for the most part, and she always makes fun of me because pandemic or not, I'm usually finding a way to sneak into the office and do some things. But luckily, school's winding down and kids won't be on campus anymore. And I see the nice new janitor who does a really good job in the building, and she's constantly cycling through. So I feel very safe. And as far as Thanksgiving goes, just maybe just briefly stopping by to see some family and breaking that up a little bit, but really no big gatherings. And honestly, it's unfortunate, but I think this is the right time to just lay low and work on some things around the house. Like I got to paint a crib and I got to do some of that stuff. So I'll reshift my focus from being hungover and adding 5 pounds to instead of burning calories.
Trying to decipher IKEA instructions for a crib.
Right. Which I've done. I built 4 IKEA projects. You would be so surprised. And Taylor was impressed because I only swore 2 or 3 times through the process. So I guess you can teach an old dog new tricks.
All right. Hey, Eric, great catching up with you. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Say hello to your family for me, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Will do. Thanks. Same to you, Andrew.
All right. That's Eric Sorella, the head coach of our baseball team. We're going to take a very short break and be back with the producers to wrap up today's program. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli. Want to bring in the producers now, Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, to help close out today's programming. And fellas, want to get your thoughts first on anything that our guests had to say here today.
So we had 3 guests who played in separate decades or coached in separate decades, and then 2 of those guests now having children. I think that's incredible. It just shows people going in and out of Salve. It's crazy to see that. I mean, what did Dan Parks 2014?
2014, like you said, growing the Salve family.
Yeah, we're growing
literally.
2 new additions. Like we found out. I had found out about. I think like last week, the news had leaked, but I didn't want to say anything. That's awesome though that he's having. Congratulations to Coach Rowe. That's going to be interesting. I would have loved to have video of him doing the IKEA thing though.
Yeah,
that would have been
I'll
funny.
Tease him next week.
Funny.
I'll tease him next week on that if he's going to tie the baby's hand behind its back so make sure it's lefty.
Oh, I can see. We'll have to see. That'll be maybe Salve's next coach, third in the line of
or maybe he can't talk. That could be a recruiting violation if he talks about those types of things.
Oh yes. Too early. Even if it's
guess what? We'll talk to Corey and Craig about the compliance side of that before we bring that line of questioning to Coach Sorella. Yeah.
That sounds like a plan.
Joey, anything from you here? Joey, you're on mute.
Man. Okay. Anyway,
No,
I thought it was. I thought it was good to bring up that lacrosse game that we were talking about, or was it lacrosse?
Soccer. You talking
Like,
about?
was it soccer? Yeah, I don't know why I said lacrosse. I like forgot what sport it was all of a sudden. But just bringing up that game because I think I saw that on the Newport Daily News earlier, and I think it is like really poetic that like she gets the last shot and everything about it. I think it was good that we got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, soccer. I don't know why it says lacrosse.
Well, she also plays lacrosse too.
That's why.
So
That's
that
why. Then
could be.
I must have heard you say that, and then my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Shut
doing
up.
that fundraiser game for baseball back in 2017 with I should have pulled it out. I may or may not have it. Maybe next time I got the G Strong wristband that we still have. So that was
That's
can't
cool.
believe that was my freshman year. So I mean that really is amazing. Congratulations to them too. So on the victory, was that the last? So there's no more divisions left for RILL soccer.
I don't believe so. I think that
So
was
we're all done.
That was it.
So she was the last goal of 2020. That's awesome. That's really cool.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty.
Anything else here from you guys to close out the program?
Joey, I don't know if you have anything. Only story I really found was kind of following our theme that we've been going with, just like the COVID story. We're almost at peak hospital like hospital capacity in Rhode Island. So really keeping your distance, I think, is going to be important, and then a well-timed pause coming up. So that was what I was going to bring up with Joey. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I didn't really find anything interesting. I was like looking at like trends on Twitter, and there's nothing that's relevant, and that was like the only thing. Yeah, the only like real news we're talking about.
Don't want to bring people down with any more COVID news. That's about all I saw coming up. So that was it. So keep your distance as always, and just stay safe over the holidays.
All right, fellas. Great work. And I will talk to you again tomorrow.
All right. Happy Monday.
That is Joey Morelli and Mike DeFusco, the producers here on Seahawk Talk. I want to thank our guests once again today. We had Jody Moradian, Dan Parks, and Eric Sorella here on the program. We are live every single day, 3 to 4 p.m. on the Salve Athletics Network through Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope through Twitter. You can like, follow, and subscribe to all of those platforms to catch every edition of the show. You can go back and rewatch any episode of the show. And you can also subscribe to the Seahawk Talk podcast through Sounder FM or wherever you get your podcasts. That'll do it for us here today. We'll be back again tomorrow at 3 p.m. I am Andrew Pizzelli. Have a good night, everyone.